Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice, otherwise known as UCOV. Here we strive to uphold our 7 principles. The first of which is that we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all persons. It's been said that our faith has a spiritual center with a civic circumference. Thanks, Kendra. If you would like to learn more about our vibrant congregation, please visit our website, ucov.org, where you can explore opportunities for growth, learning, and connection. We welcome all of you this morning, all of you both here in person as well as all of you participating remotely. We hope you find something in today's service that speaks to you, or perhaps even calls you to action. My name is Mo Morrison, and I am pleased to be your worship associate this morning. Do we have any visitors here? Any first-time folks who are here for the first time today? We would love to meet you personally, if you're willing to introduce yourself. All right, Rich. Thank you. However, there may be some visitors remotely. We welcome you as well. We have a few announcements this morning. Games and lunch this Tuesday. That's the 30th. No, that's the 27th. Thank you. Bring a bag lunch, and there'll be mahjong, dominoes, etc. The next Green Sanctuary's Meatless Monday is coming up. Next Monday, the first Monday of the month. All are invited to attend. 5 o'clock is social time, dinner at 5:30. Bring your dish to share and your utensils for zero waste. Jean Sibbers and Donna Jewett can be seen for questions. We have an exciting event coming up. That's the Pancake Breakfast on July 16th. Any of you want to do a little carb loading in case you're going to run a marathon later? Please come at 8:15 and enjoy pancakes. Crafting Corner. If you knit, crochet, cross stitch, or weave, come and share some conversation and crafts. We have a brief announcement regarding our social justice team. Nancy and I wanted to just share a couple of things with you. We've been very busy. And first, we want to thank everyone for your participation in our gun violence awareness rally that we held here on June 4th. We were overwhelmed with the participation. It was just lovely. And we appreciate everyone, young and old, outside in the roasting heat and sun at noon with their signs. We got a lot of positive response from the community. So stay tuned. We will do more. We have other exciting projects going on. One is that we are in the process of developing a coalition so that we can join with like-minded groups to increase our resources and our visibility and efforts, and also support each other. So we'll let you know more about that. Nancy's going to share one new project as well, and I don't want to forget to thank John Van Camp for steering the ship and herding the social justice cats. We appreciate all your efforts in getting us going, John.
And getting us going he has. If you are interested in a group that's taking action and is so excited about it, we invite you to join us. The energy at the meetings, both with people who are here and people online, is absolutely palpable. So that said, we have an event that we are working towards in January or February of this coming year. We are planning on doing a band book festival. We are still working, we're just beginning to work out some details, but we are going to need lots of help, not only volunteers for the actual festival, but if you yourself or someone you know might be a speaker, a musician, a dancer, a poet, a reader, a storyteller, we would love to have your help or your contact information if it's someone that you know. Please feel free to see me, to see Mo, to see Rich Canarelli, or any of the social justice team members. We would be most grateful for your help, and we look forward to working with you as time gets closer. Thank you.
We are now entering into a sacred space. Please silent your electronic devices. Our service will begin with the prelude. Our chalice lighting this morning is Blessed is the Match by Hannah Sinesh. Hannah Sinesh was only 23 years old when she was captured and killed by the Nazis while on a mission to save Jews in occupied Europe. She refused to relinquish classified information, resulting in her torture and execution. Steadfast In her courage, she became a symbol of idealism and self-sacrifice. Blessed is the match. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame. Blessed is the flame that burns in the heart's secret places. Blessed is the heart that knows, for honor's sake, to stop its beating. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame.
Good morning. And welcome again. Today is the first of 5 Sundays over the summer when there will be volunteers and guests that will be conducting the services while Reverend Amy is on a well-deserved vacation. Next week she will be here for the last Sunday before she engages in her vacation. Today, though, we will be talking about some political activities that are taking place across our country and also here in Sarasota County. These are the kinds of activities that historically have been used to weaken and destroy democracies, and as such, they cannot be ignored. By sharing information and learning more about these actions, we hope that we can be better prepared to understand and push back appropriately, not only as a congregation, but as individuals. So before we get into the discussion of those items, I would like for you to say hello to those neighbors around you and introduce yourself if necessary, and we'll begin shortly.
Wonderful. It's wonderful to see such a friendly group of people reaching out. I love it. Our gathering hymn this morning is a celebrated anthem calling for freedom and social change, written in 1949 by Pete Seeger. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing, "If I Had a Hammer."
Danger I forgot my book this morning. So today, instead of a time for all ages, I'm just going to do what Reverend Amy does and have a sort of a children's chapel. And I'll just tell you a little bit about what is going to be spoken about after we leave. It's a pretty big word and a very heavy topic for some adults. And this big word is fascism. It's a big word. It's a really big word. And it means that you have one group, one person or one group that's basically guiding where your country is going. And so we're going to talk about what this looks like here in America and how it affects the people, and maybe a little about things to think about for our future. Do we want one group leading? Do we want to have democracy where all of our ideas are put out there and honored and accepted? So that's kind of the questions. Pretty heavy stuff, huh? We're not going to have that heavy. We're headed over to YRE, where we're going to do what today? Have fun and learn something. Please help me sing the kids out.
Giving is a sacred practice, and when you give to your church, you also receive. We support and acknowledge the core values we hold dear, like compassion, justice, and equity. Supporting the ministries of this congregation is one of the ways we live out these values. It's a way we share of our time, our talent, and resources. And it's a part of our service since it is a spiritual act with deep significance. The offering will now be gratefully received both in the sanctuary and in our homes. If you are watching remotely, please go to ucov.org and click on the donate button. A church is not the building, but the people. As a community of human hands and human hearts, we come together here to share our laughter and tears. We are entering into a time of sharing and joys and concerns. You may raise a hand, and Rich will bring you a microphone. Please share information only with permission.
Hi, I'm Amy, and as you can tell, this is my off weekend. I have both a joy and a concern. If you all would hold my mom in your hearts, she is in the hospital, she's septic, so hold her in your hearts this week. If you pray, please hold her in your prayers. The joy I have is the young couple who's been in the fire. Through our donations, they've been able to make it through a week. They have been fed, they have some clothing. They're still struggling, but they've been able to go back to work. So they are so thankful, and they will probably be here with us next Sunday to say thank you personally. All donations are desperately they're so grateful. So thank you all for everything you've done. They are in dreadful shape, and it's through your kindness that they've been able to make it this far.
Good morning. I'm Pam Palmer, and I'm back. And I want to thank everybody who sent me cards and phone calls. And if I didn't call you back, it's because I just didn't want to tell the story one more time. And I'm doing much better. Still not 100%, but thank you very much. I appreciated all of your kind concerns.
Morning, I'm Steve Leapley. Myself and my wife Eileen, this is our last Sunday for the summer. We're heading up north to Connecticut to spend time with my kids, and we're also got some nice plans for the summer. However, my concern is that I'm going to miss you all. This is a home, but we'll be thinking about you, and we'll be back mid-September. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Johnson, and I have a couple things. I have a celebration / sorrow. My wife and my son were both in the hospital, and they're both out now, so feeling really good about that. But something really interesting happened last week. Every year I look at the loss in our family as a day. As opposed to a birthday, I look at it as the day somebody passed. And my wife Cindy has been instilling on me since we joined here to start looking at birthdays instead of days when people pass. So last week, very interesting, was my dad's 17th year that he had passed, and I was actually able to, I don't want to find humor in it, but I looked at it very differently because my mother had passed, my daughter had passed. They've all been together for 25 plus years. You know, my mother, my daughter, my father, 17 years. And then my sister passed 7 years ago. And she was a pain in the ass, but I loved her. She was a pain. So my comment on Facebook last week, which got a lot of response, was all these years of bliss. And then my sister joined them, and it was back to work. So anyway, I'm thinking about things a little bit differently these days, and a lot of that has to do with the people around here and my ability to be able to talk about it. So I want to thank everybody here for that opportunity for me. Thanks.
May the love of this community hold all who need love and concern. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we never look away when we are needed. May those who are grieving be comforted. May those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed. May those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant. Our centering hymn this morning is number 170. We are a gentle, angry people. We will sing 4 verses. So please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing.
As I stand here and see friends, some of you who know me very well, I can assure you I'm not in my comfort zone right now. However, over the last several years, there have been many things going on in our country politically that are making me much more uncomfortable than spending a few minutes here this morning sharing my thoughts with you on these concerns. As Unitarians, I feel reasonably confident that we stay on top of political issues in national, state, and local politics. Our social justice team stays involved on the local level and participates effectively in a variety of actions. Although what we will be mentioning this morning will be appropriate to all, I particularly want to be sure that those of you hearing this who are in my generation understand the unique role that we can play in pushing back against the forces that would destroy our freedoms. I was born in 1935. Those of us from that era have actually lived during 10 decades of U.S. history. We were alive when democracies were being abolished in Eastern Europe by authoritarians, namely Stalin, Mussolini, and Hitler. We have experienced our country engaged in World War II and saw the price that our country paid to defend democracy. I vividly remember seeing in front windows of homes in my hometown the little banners with blue or gold colored stars. A blue star represented someone serving in the military. A gold star meant someone who had lived there, had lost their life defending democracy. Our country lost over 405,000 young men and women, and over 670,000 wounded in World War II. Many of those wounded were never able to resume a normal life after their tour of duty. Those individuals and their families paid the maximum price for democracy. Today we are witnessing movements pushing for changes that will weaken and destroy our democracy. My concern is that many citizens don't realize or are even concerned about this. Fascism thrives on indifference and ignorance. I will never understand how people today who have had a family member injured or lost in World War II defending democracy that can be involved in activities that weaken the same democracy. It has been said that the greatest threat to democracy in our country is from within, not from some outside forces, and it's happening now. As unbelievable as it may seem, 14 million non-combatants, civilians, were killed in the land between Germany and Russia between the 1930s and the 1945. Why? Simply because they were Jewish, LGBTQ, immigrants, intellectuals, or other minorities who were considered a threat to the authoritarian government of Hitler and Stalin. This was tyranny at its worst. I feel very strongly that our older generation can and should do more to help wake up people to the dangers facing democracy today and point out how similar these problems are to the problems that freedom-loving people in Eastern Europe experienced in those times. It is easy at our age to just kind of wait for things to settle down and go away or withdraw from the issues and let someone else push back. it isn't likely that we are able to participate in those actions which are taken to the streets. But that isn't an excuse to do nothing. We can write letters, we can talk with family and friends, we can share our experiences and knowledge of having lived during those terrible times. Just because our generation has been tagged as the silent generation doesn't mean we should remain uninvolved. Timothy Snyder, a renowned historian on this era, points out that Americans have never experienced fascism up close. Most Americans neither understand what it looks like in practice or how it undermines democracy, and we lack the vocabulary to name it when it is seen. We pretend to act like things aren't as bad as it may seem by using soft definitions, such as misstatements for lies and holding facilities rather than concentration camps. We should be calling a person a bully or a tyrant when they are demonstrating all the characteristics of a dictator, or allowing populism to be used as having the same meaning as patriotism. Traditional conservatives try to brush off the fascist strongman who has built a movement that attacks the establishment, emphasizing the failure of democracy and civility. They claim that force can accomplish what was failed by consent. The strongman attacks feminists, LGBT communities, minorities, and immigrants, academics, socialists, and intellectuals, and claims to make the nation great again. Reluctantly, conservatives join the fascists, believing that they can keep the leader in check and harness the votes of his followers to maintain their own power. Fascism is not a complicated concept. Start by Googling fascism, and you will find out that it is easy to recognize, and even more, you will be able to notice that many actions being done in our country today, and even here in Sarasota County, match up very well with the descriptors you will see of actions taken by fascists in Eastern Europe during the World War II era. Here are a few terms that describe some of the characteristics of fascism and fascists. As I read them, I'm sure you can come up with your own current examples. Hypernationalism, the strong cult leader, the idea that a strong leader will save us, the fear of white population decline, anti-feminism, anti-left, absolute power of the state, forcible oppression of opposition, using lies and hate to divide people, controls which don't allow any disagreement with the state, and dismantling the principle of the separation of church and state. Fascists have typically risen to power in unstable democracies. Our current culture wars are a tool of fascism, creating chaos and divisiveness. To some, the world is overwhelming and alienating, and as a result, all too many people feel that they have no place in it. This makes them anxious, and the anxiety feeds their search for the next new thing. They run to social media or any other available release to fill the void. It's just too complex of a world for them, and people turn to what sounds like an answer when the fascist strongman promises simplification for all. he promises to restore things as they used to be. The fascist isn't interested in solutions, but rather temporary palliatives to soothe bottled up fears. I came to the place where I felt I needed to do something because of events happening right here in Sarasota County. It is the agenda to control people and decide what is best for them that I was seeing, and which really concerns me. Theo Horish states, if a sufficient mass of people is more interested in their own agendas than their democratic institutions, those institutions can soon fall. Several months ago, I was given a little book entitled On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century, written by Timothy Snyder. This book ignited a spark that has caused me to take an interest in politics and democracy like I've never had before. The epigram for that book is a quotation of a prominent Polish philosopher and historian, Leszek Kolakowski. And that epigram is this: in politics, being deceived is no excuse. Those 7 words caused me to want to find out more about the things like nationalism, tyranny, and blatant authoritarianism that I had been seeing develop in our country, and even more, what causes people to accept those things? Maybe, in fact, they are being deceived. Being deceived is just to believe something that is not true, typically to gain an advantage. Are you noticing how certain words recently are taking on new meanings? For example, truth, freedom, indoctrination, and liberal. That's what deception is all about. That book also encouraged me to find other historians who have written about the political history of the 1920s through the 1950s in Eastern Europe. I've always felt that the best source of factual history are the writings of established historians and researchers who have been acclaimed by their peers for their unbiased and thorough analysis of events that have shaped our world and our lives. We all can have opinions, but if opinions are based on fake news, we are unfortunately relying on bad information. So if someone bases their actions on opinions seen on social media or other biased news platforms, they are unfortunately relying on bad information. In my judgment, there are far too many people today who have limited sources of factual information, and as a result, they are being deceived. You have submitted to tyranny when you renounce the difference between what you want to hear and what is really happening. To abandon facts is to abandon freedom. Fascists are experts at twisting facts to be consistent with their message. Fascists use democracy up to the point at which charade elections put them in positions to become dictators. Hitler had won a national election before taking control of the German government. Timothy Snyder makes 2 very relevant comments about history. History does not repeat, but it does instruct. And history can familiarize, and it can warn. Theo Horish, in a recent book titled The Fascism This Time and the Global Future of Democracy, explains how fascism has come to America. Perhaps the most insidious way autocrats control their subjects is through a systematic undermining of truth, i.e. dictatorship is called democracy, violence is masked in the name of security, lies are dressed up as facts, science is magic, confusion is clarity, and rudeness is grace. Fascists tend to be master propagandists, but they are also shameless liars. Historian Richard Evans suggests in his study of the Third Reich that Hitler had no program except to make Germany great again. Right-wing populists and fascists do not tend to have political programs, but rather slogans. Make America great again. America first. There's a new sheriff in town. Florida is where woke goes to die. These slogans allow the fascists to mobilize the masses and use them for their own purposes. With no clear agenda, followers become ripe for manipulation. Freedom is the death knell of fascism, for free people do not take to hierarchy. Fascism can be fought in many ways, but the most rewarding is through the full expression of everything that we love and cherish. Fascists and their supporters now revel in their depravity and gain strength through flaunting it. It is not simply liberals and minorities who oppose it, but rather other ordinary people the world over, whatever their political values. And the people who have become allies of a fascist leader, like many evangelicals, may quickly find themselves and their movements corrupted. For example, how can you be anti-abortion and pro-guns? Fascist leaders are seducers of otherwise decent people. Fascists threaten to destroy everything they touch, and this moral corruption rots everything in its path. People are used until they are no longer needed. This is precisely what people living in Europe and America in the Second World War found so frightening about the ascendance of Hitler. Fascism overturns the moral order, bringing corrupt men and women to power and spreading that evil among the population. They seek to set up a new order where evil has free reign and democracy is destroyed. So, how do we protect democracy? Ballot boxes will save democracy. However, free, fair, and accessible elections are essential. To use an example of a person who plays golf regularly, to talk about voting, if a person, they don't know when they played golf the last time, then it might be the last time they played golf. Voting is like that. Most Germans in 1932 who voted for the Nazi Party didn't realize that it would be the last meaningful election for a long time. Russians in 1990 didn't realize it would be their last and free election. Fascists suppress votes, gerrymander, and employ other tactics to maintain their grip on power. We have in our country the problem of oligarchy. Those extremely wealthy persons who stay out of the sunshine but use their money to control their mouthpieces within the government. With control of the government, the disease of corruption allows the oligarchs to accumulate more wealth and thus more power, which is their ultimate goal. Russia today is a prime example of that pattern. The greatest crisis confronting humanity today is arguably the rapid degeneration of democratic institutions in every major region of the world. This is more important than climate change, inequality, and other crises to which we might respond, because our very capacity to collectively respond to crises is predicted on the ability to shape social and political outcomes, which cannot be done without the aid of these democratic institutions. So if we care about climate change, inequalities, and other progressive concerns, we must focus first and foremost on saving democracy and our free and fair elections. I want to conclude by stating one of the final paragraphs in Anne Applebaum's book, Twilight of Democracy. Because all authoritarianisms divide, polarize, and separate people into warring camps, the fight against them requires new coalitions. Together we can make old and misunderstood words like liberalism mean something again. Together we can fight back against lies and liars. Together we can think what democracy should look like in a digital age. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. For our meditation this morning, we turn to the words of Elie Wiesel. We must take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Please join me for a minute of silent meditation, reflection, or prayer. Our reading this morning is a poem from Maya Angelou. On the Pulse of Morning has been described as a soaring call for peace, justice, and harmony. She explores themes of hope, advancement, and the possibility of a better future, defined by courage and responsibility. We are more alike than unalike, and all things are possible. On the pulse of morning, a rock, a river, a tree, hosts to species long since departed, marked the mastodon, the dinosaur who left dried tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us clearly, forcefully, "Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny, but seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here. You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long face down in ignorance, your mouths spilling words, armed for slaughter. The rock cries out to us today, you may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you, a bordered country, delicate and strangely made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege, your armed struggles for profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet today I call you to my riverside. If you will study war no more, come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the tree and the rock were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew, you still knew nothing. The river sang and sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They hear, they all hear the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree speak to humankind today. Come to me, here beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed-on traveler, has been paid for. You who gave me my first name. You, Pawnee, Apache, Seneca. You, Cherokee Nation, who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot. You, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the Kru, bought, sold, stolen, arriving on the nightmare, praying for a dream. Here, root yourselves beside me. I am that tree planted by the river, which will not be moved. I, the rock, I, the river, I, the tree. I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands, mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here, on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out and upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country, no less to Midas than the mendicant, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning.
As we extinguish the chalice, we share these words of Wayne B. Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.
Our closing hymn needs no introduction. Please rise and body your spirit and sing with us number 169, We Shall Overcome.
Oh,
For our benediction this morning, we return to the words of Elie Wiesel. While there may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, there must never be a time when we fail to protest. This service has ended. Your service has begun. Go with courage. Go in love. Please join us in singing May Love Surround You.
Thank you.